Don't forget to like and subscribe to follow good stories. Welcome everyone to the second part of the series, Betrayal of Dignity. At the end of the previous part, Duke Damien von Thys staged a grand play to retaliate against the Emperor's assassination attempt, while also making Chloe Verdier feel grateful and affectionate towards him. How will their relationship develop? Will Chloe discover Damien's intention of exploiting the death of Marchioness Isabella to win her over? Please enjoy this latest episode. The castle is experiencing the peaceful days of a fresh spring. The gentle sunlight, along with the lush green of trees and wildlife, truly makes this the perfect weather for couples and their budding love. In the garden, a group of servants are gossiping about the Duchess. On such a beautiful sunny day, the Duchess has gone for a walk. But the weather is not the only reason she has gone out. Every time she sneaks out alone, she always returns with the Lord. It seems their relationship has become more intimate. Thinking back to the first day the Duchess arrived at the mansion, there was no promising affection between the two of them, mainly due to the rumors of the Duke's affair with Marchioness Isabella at that time. Not to mention that the Duchess was also accused of murdering the Marchioness. Perhaps they fell in love when the Lord helped the Duchess escape the death penalty. How romantic. If it were me, I would have fallen for him too. Oh, no way. I am quite sure everything happened long before that. What are you talking about? Are you silly? Of course. I am talking about them being in love. I firmly believe they loved each other even before the incident happened. Under the birch tree, Chloe sulked. Why are you so stubborn, Duke Damien? Taking a bite of an apple, Damien replied, It's just human nature. Chloe adjusted her attire, trying to regain her composure. I suggested yesterday that you should refrain from interrupting my picnic. The Duke sneered, My love, have you ever thought that it is you who is hindering my duties? Chloe sighed. No, I never thought that. Besides, how should I put this? She blushed and stammered. I don't think we need to keep doing it so frequently to get pregnant. Damien approached her, playfully twirling a lock of her silky chestnut hair. Do you think I'm doing this solely for the purpose of having a child? He asked. Amidst the rustling birch leaves, Chloe hesitantly replied, Well, most of the time, yes. Ensuring the birth of an heir is one of our primary duties. We must stay focused on purposeful activities. Damien smirked. I see. All I'm looking for is some relaxing time with you, my lady, he said, unbuttoning his shirt. And regardless of our purpose, the harder we try, the better. With a flurry of wings, birds took flight, disturbed by the joyful murmurs of the couple. Unbeknownst to them, a figure was secretly watching from the bushes. The sudden rustle made Chloe startle, but when she looked, she saw no one. Duke, I think there's someone over there, she said. Damien, still caressing her skin, replied, It doesn't matter. Don't pay attention to anything else, Chloe. When you are with me, and even when you are not, I want your undivided attention. That's the duty of a duchess. Chloe received his passionate kiss and gently responded, Yes, my lord. If anyone asked Chloe what she valued most in her husband, she would hesitate a moment before answering, maybe his excellent planning skills. He always informs me of his whereabouts and promptly alerts me if any issues arise. The maid, exasperated, said, My lady, surely that can't be his greatest strength. Besides, your example doesn't relate at all. Chloe smiled sheepishly. Well, I can't think of anything else right now. She thought to herself, if you asked about his flaws, I could easily list the top 10 terrible ones. The maid became excited. My lady, don't your heart melt when you look into his eyes full of passionate devotion? Chloe took a sip of tea indifferently. Usually, those eyes remind me of frozen lakes. The maid continued to flatter, but he returned to the estate just 5 days after departing for the royal palace. His eagerness to reunite with the Duchess made him hastily ride home. Chloe continued to deny. Well, perhaps his meeting at the palace ended earlier than expected. The maid cried, Can't you understand, my lady? How can you think that while the Duke can't bear to be away from you anymore? They call it love. It seems you are the only one who hasn't realized it. Chloe blushed and became flustered. Love? She involuntarily heard Damien's sweet voice in her mind. My wife, she shook her head. No way. He can't possibly feel that way. Suddenly, the maid remembered something and whispered in Chloe's ear. Another servant told me. Chloe's mouth dropped open in shock, and she instinctively knocked over her teacup, causing it to shatter loudly and tea to splatter on the floor. What did you just say? Through the birch forests, The maid's words still echoed in Chloe's mind. My lady, have you heard? Gilles has decided to quit, even though the Lord had pardoned the incident mentioned in the trial. But perhaps Gilles feels uncomfortable staying here. I heard he will take the train out of the estate tonight. It seems he is in quite a hurry. Chloe tried to run as fast as she could towards the cabin. Why is he leaving so suddenly? What on earth happened, Gilles? Double quotes. T Gilles cabin. A man's voice rang out. Why are you still here? The Duke crossed his arms, looking displeased. Didn't I make it clear that you should leave when the trial ended? Gilles replied, there's something I need to be sure of. I need to be sure that you won't harm Miss Chloe. The Duke remained silent for a moment, then burst into loud laughter. Ha, ha. Gilles stood dumbfounded at his expressions. How insolent, truly. You don't know your place at all. Damien looked at the wretch before him and smirked. Rah! With a swift, powerful punch, Gilles was struck hard on one side of his face, causing him to collapse onto the floor. The sudden and fierce blow left Gilles coughing and curling up in pain. The Duke, now like a furious beast, growled. Gilles, my intuition didn't disappoint me. From the moment I laid eyes on you, I only felt intense disgust. Your gaze, your attitude, and even the way you speak, all of it. Damien lifted the servant and shouted, all those things just infuriate me. Your Grace. Chloe's voice caused him to pause momentarily. Please, put him down. Damien glanced at the panting Chloe, then tightened his grip on Gilles' collar. Is this what you want? The Duchess's sympathy? Or perhaps you wish for a final date here? Chloe abandoned her cane and pleaded, please stop. Move aside before you get hurt, Chloe. But Chloe stubbornly yelled, Your Grace. Damien's arm halted. He turned to his wife and enunciated each word sharply. Chloe von Thys, do not test my patience. Move aside. Gilles, feeling the insult to his mistress, kicked the Duke's shin and struggled to break free. Panting heavily, Gilles shouted, You have no right to speak to Lady Chloe like that. She won't forgive anyone who disrespects her. This only fueled Damien's rage. Ha! Seeing you babble so recklessly, it seems you don't value your life at all. The Duke was stunned to see his wife shielding the servant. Her body trembled like a cornered deer. Please stop. I'm begging you. Damien frowned angrily when he saw Chloe begging for Gilles. He helped me. He testified at the trial to save me. He doesn't know how to lie, yet he deceived the gods for my sake. Damien knelt down and moved closer to her. The fact that he witnessed most of our intimate moments isn't a lie. Chloe replied, So you and Gilles made up that story to defend me, didn't you? No, Chloe, Damien said, his voice firm. Gilles' hand clenched upon hearing the Duke reveal the truth. Do you remember our picnic in the birch forest? If you had known then that it was the servant who was watching us, would you still defend him? Chloe was utterly stunned by this revelation. Was it you, Gilles? She asked, her voice trembling. Gilles shivered as his mistress questioned him, stammering, I was just. The Duke sneered. I'm afraid you won't be able to hide behind that mask of loyalty any longer, Gilles. I see through all your intentions. People like you always seek to worship and serve others, constantly chasing a love that brings you nothing but pain. But do you realize the folly of your desires? You are fantasizing about a love that will never come to fruition because Chloe Vitis is already mine. Let's go, Chloe. Chloe, still in shock, hesitated before nodding and following Damien. Gilles sat dejectedly in a corner, watching the two leave his humble cabin. He looked at the cane Chloe had accidentally left behind and sobbed. He's evil to the core. He's the embodiment of the devil. In their private room, Damien gently placed Chloe on the bed. She whispered to her husband, I swear I will always be faithful as long as I'm your wife. He was just a friend who treated me well, even though his actions were wrong, dismissing him. Damien interrupted, Do not mention another man's name in front of me. Chloe tried to reason. He was a capable servant. Thanks to his efforts, we were able to survive the harsh winter. Don't speak as if you value him so much, Damien replied coldly. Chloe, angered, retorted, Then what do you want from me? She looked helplessly at the ruthless man before her. Please, leave before I despise you even more. Damien showed no emotion as his wife pleaded for another man's forgiveness. Sitting alone in her room, Chloe fumed over the Duke's stubbornness. Why does he always insist he's right? She thought, recalling the maid Marguerite's words about love. People wouldn't act that way in front of someone they love. She mused sadly, exhausted. Chloe fell back onto the bed, thinking to herself, Chloe, what are you expecting? The Duke can't truly love anyone. You're so foolish. Late at night, the door to Chloe's room suddenly opened, and someone approached her bed. The forgotten cane from Gilles' cabin was placed back in its original spot. The man stroked her soft hair and softly called her name. Chloe von Thys. I'll let you be alone tonight because I want to maintain the minimal respect for you as a duchess, he whispered in her ear. I must say, you've made me quite upset. Chloe tried to keep her eyes tightly shut and remained silent. I advise you to be more restrained in siding with other men, if you know what's good for you. This has put me in a terrible mood. Now, good night, my wife. As the door closed, the room fell so silent that Chloe could hear her heart pounding wildly in her chest. Every word he spoke seemed to carry the jealousy of a husband. That sweet and gentle kiss left her heart racing. Chloe blushed and screamed internally. What on earth was that about? A few days later, at the Bess estate, Chloe frowned in confusion. Your Grace, I didn't know that the duties of a duchess included replacing your servants and doing their work. The Duke cheerfully replied. The servant's cough is quite severe, you see. I can't risk having a sick person around me. What if I catch it? Chloe sighed in exasperation. Your Grace, not trimming your beard for one day will not adversely affect your impeccable visage. Damien was taken aback by his wife's compliment and burst into hearty laughter. It's been quite some time since I've heard such flattery. The Duke lay back on the chair and glanced at his wife, Chloe. Chloe held the cane tightly and replied, Yes, Your Grace. I'm hungry. You better hurry up. Chloe trembled with anger but still followed his orders. The razor glided gently over the Duke's chin and jawline. He praised her. You're good at this. I hope you don't talk anymore, Chloe said seriously, carefully maneuvering the razor to avoid any nicks on his face. Seeing her dedication to even the smallest task, Damien became enamored. There's no duty my lady can't excel at. You'll be disappointed when you look in the mirror. I've made a mess of everything. Wonderful. I enjoy seeing you flustered, Damien teased. However, I don't like the mess, Chloe responded flatly. That's not my problem, he smirked. She felt helpless. You always demand perfection from me, yet now you say you like seeing me mess things up. I truly can't understand what you want anymore. Damien gently touched her cheek. What I want, Chloe, is to see your perfect facade crumble before me and only me. I want you to care about every little detail of my actions and then make mistakes while longing for my embrace despite it all. Chloe remained silent as the Duke uttered those words. May I ask you one thing, Your Grace? She finally spoke. Go ahead, he said, gathering all her courage. She asked directly, Do you love me? Please, answer me. Do you love me, Damien? Damien was taken aback by her question. He chuckled softly and mockingly replied, Isn't that what you want? For me to whisper in your ear that I love you? Chloe responded, If your malicious actions stem from the love you have for me, then I will try to forgive you. Damien stood up and walked towards her. Forgive me? I'm sorry to disappoint you, but I don't need your forgiveness. Chloe replied seriously, Your Grace, if I can't forgive someone, then I can't love them either. Damien widened his eyes in astonishment. What did she mean by that? Chloe insisted on her intention. Please answer my question first, sir. Answer however you like. All I want is for you to speak truthfully to me. Damien couldn't believe his eyes. His mouth stammered, wanting to say everything, but he couldn't arrange the words reasonably. He took Chloe's warm hands and gently caressed her rosy cheeks, whispering, From the first moment I saw you, I wanted to hold you tight and embrace you. If the desire to make you mine could be called love, then I have loved you madly for a long time. Chloe was stunned by the man's heartfelt confession. I love you, Chloe Verdier, he said, again and again. Chloe remained silent for a while after hearing those sweet, loving words. Finally, she spoke. I think everything will be fine now. The Duke was puzzled. What do you mean? Chloe blushed shyly. I will still be fine if you see me become a complete mess. Damien was bewildered as the girl accepted his love. He gently approached her, whispering, That prospect truly excites me. Everything I did you into, Chloe von Thys, is slowly melting away with the arrival of spring. Chloe smiled in response, as it does me. As their hearts beat in harmony, their deepest feelings simultaneously emerged. At the moment, I realized his true feelings. Something I never expected turned out to be love, and my icy heart began to melt. At the train station, Jules was sitting idly on the bench, still unwilling to leave the territory. One day, he accidentally met Lord Wise, one of the Duke's vassals. "Hello, sir. You are Jill Watt, right? Where are you going?" The servant respectfully replied, "I have decided to leave the estate to start a new journey. Besides, some unfortunate events have occurred." The Count frowned. "I see. That's unfortunate. However, considering that you have greatly helped the Duke, he must have sent you off with a wonderful letter of recommendation, hasn't he? He is very grateful to you." Gilles hesitated. "Do you really think so, sir?" The Count exclaimed. "Of course. After all, he has loved the Duchess for a long time, and you played a crucial role in saving her life." Gilles was surprised. "I didn't know the master had loved the young lady for so long." "Haha, I don't blame you. He always has a unique way of expressing himself, but they married very hastily." "Rest assured, young man, the Duke is not someone who pursues significant matters like marriage impulsively. He probably spent a year, no, even 2 years on this marriage." While Count Wise was prattling about an available job position at the monastery, a thought sprang up in Gilles' mind. This man might confirm his suspicions. He respectfully posed a question. "Thank you for the invitation, sir, but I find it puzzling why the Duke accused Lady Chloe of attempted murder and made her suffer so much. That's why I want to avoid working in places related to him." Count Wise broke into a sweat. "How did you know about that?" Gilles had his answer. His suspicions were confirmed. He clenched his fist, restraining his anger. "It was just a strong suspicion, sir, but you just confirmed it to be true." His heart swelled with indignation. "What exactly does the Duke intend to do with Lady Chloe?" Count Wise was both annoyed and fearful in front of a servant who appeared respectful, but was astute. "I've fallen right into his trap. If Duke this knows about this, there will definitely be trouble. He knows the truth about the assassination. It would be wiser to keep him within my reach." Finally, Count Wise agreed to let Gilles work at the monastery with acquaintances. "Will the servant be able to protect his lady from the power of the Thys family?" At the clock tower in the center of the territory, Chloe walked with a cane, holding a parcel. It had been a long time since she last wrote a letter to her father. She also tried to respond to the letters from her sister, Alice, even though she didn't know the exact address. A spring breeze arose, carrying the scent of flowers and the warm sunshine of this land, gently brushing her skin. Perhaps the territory wasn't such a bad place after all. It had its own undeniable beauty. When she first arrived here, the bone-chilling cold of the harsh winter made her think she could never develop a fondness for this place. But the gentleness of spring made her feel comfortable, just like her hometown, Verdier. As she enjoyed the pleasant weather, a strong hand slipped around her waist. Startled, Chloe turned around and saw the familiar figure of her husband. "How fortunate I am," he said. "Are you enjoying a relaxing afternoon, my dear wife?" Surprised, Chloe responded, "I thought you said you had a busy schedule." "I ended the meeting early," Damien replied, looking at her lovingly. "I can't let work interfere when my wife is out alone like this." "Wait, your face is all red." Chloe denied it, a bit annoyed. "It's just that the weather is quite warm today." Damien noticed she was holding something. "What's that in your hands?" he asked. Chloe, flustered, quickly hid it behind her back. "Oh, nothing at all. Really? It doesn't look like nothing," Damien said suspiciously. Chloe broke into a sweat, thinking to herself, "I must never let him see it." Earlier, at a shop, Chloe had been introduced to commemorative stamps celebrating the victory in a battle 2 years ago. These stamps were always in short supply, and these were the last remaining sets. Among them was a stamp with the portrait of Duke Thys. In a moment of excitement, she blushed while gazing at that stamp. "They're just stamps with pictures of strawberries from the territory," she said. I find them quite appealing." The Duke, noticing Chloe's flustered expressions, remained silent for a moment. "You said strawberries?" Chloe's face turned bright red. "Yes, really, it's not important," she stammered. But the parcel was snatched from her hands by Damien. The Duke laughed heartily. "Excellent, I also love strawberries," Chloe exclaimed in panic. "Duke, please give it back to me. How can I resist the curiosity when you keep acting like this?" He responded. Suddenly, the parcel fell. As they struggled over it, and everything inside scattered, some falling into the nearby fountain. Damien noticed something unusual. "Oh my, since when has my face reminded you of strawberries?" he teased playfully. Chloe's face was full of disappointment. "You can always buy more, can't you?" Damien asked. They were the last set, Chloe replied, regretfully. It's natural to be disappointed when something you've just bought is lost like this. Shall I retrieve it for you? He offered. It's too late now. Please forget about it, Chloe said. Actually, I was almost forced to buy it. Ignoring Chloe's words, the Duke rolled up his sleeves and plunged into the fountain, the sound of splashing water echoing in front of her. Chloe couldn't help but be surprised by her husband's actions. Seeing Damien rummaging to retrieve the stamps from the fountain, she exclaimed, Your Grace, what do you think you are doing? Please step out of there. Damien picked up the stamp with his own portrait and reassured her, There's no need to make a big deal out of it. Look, I have it right here. His face was gentle and warm at that moment. Who would call this man an arrogant and ruthless demon? Chloe blushed, embarrassed that her secret had been discovered. You're soaking wet, and besides, people are watching us. He approached her gently and said, Despite seeing me every day, my lady still pays to buy a stamp with my image. This is the least I can do for her. Don't you think so? Damien suddenly leaned close to Chloe's ear and whispered, I've just realized there's a very suitable place right in front of us. Chloe glanced towards the direction he indicated. It was a hotel that looked quite suggestive, especially with a couple flirting at the entrance. With Damien's whisper, her cheeks turned even redder. Should we take a break there? He suggested, his heartbeat quickening. What do you think? Did they go into the hotel or not? Find out in part 8 next Wednesday. Remember to like and subscribe to receive notifications.